So, Marin is a speaker, developer, and author, and he works for high-profile clients doing Swift development. When he's not crafting code, he blogs and he writes books. And I understand that some of your code is open source. So, Marin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I think you already said it pretty nicely. So I'm a developer for a long time. At present, I do mostly Swift. I like things that every developer likes: photography, going out for a run, going into nature, open sourcing, the normal things.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when you can release your code for people to use, right?
Oh yeah, I do like that. I do like that. I like receiving feedback, and I think that's the best way to receive as much feedback as you can about your own code.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about what you're going to be speaking at UIKonf.
All right, so this year at UIKonf, I'm going to be presenting a custom Xcode instrument called Timelane, which helps you debug asynchronous code. And it has bindings for Combine, Arc Swifts, operations, and so forth. So it's a pretty handy tool to have in your tool belt.
Wow, that's a lot. Where did the idea for a custom instrument plugin come from?
Oh, that started some long time ago. Actually, about 5 years ago, when I was just starting reactive programming in Swift, I did develop this visual debugger for Arc Swift because I was struggling to understand some of the concepts, and I really wanted to see how things are working.
Mm-hmm.
What are the inner workings of the framework. And I did open source it, the visual debugger, but creating the UI with an interactive time lane that you can zoom in, zoom out, select regions and things like this was just hell. So it kind of died out. And now that the Apple Instruments team has opened the instruments for custom instruments, basically, so you can plug in your own data into the actual instruments UI and see things happen on screen. I thought it was a great idea. So I did the same thing, just pour in the data and see things show up in instruments.
Is that reasonably easy to do?
It varies from fairly easy until incredibly complicated. So
Okay.
I think I also learned a lot, and I could share quite a lot about the process too.
So what are you hoping folks will take away from your talk?
Right. So it's a new tool. It's released and it's open source too. So I hope that folks will learn about what they can do with it. They will learn how to install it and what kind of basic problems they can solve with it. And, if they find it something that they can use in their day-to-day, that's even better.
Now, do you think that Combine and reactive programming is making our lives easier, or do you think it's making it a little bit more complex? Because, I mean, I've looked at some of the code, and sometimes it can be a little hard to decipher.
I've heard that before, to be honest. So, I mean, you can write the perfectly reasonable asynchronous code without Combine. I mean, Grand Central Dispatch is just an amazing framework to do that as well. And we also have operations too. And so, it's just a tool as any other. And I think you need to pick the tool that suits you best. But since now there is a first-party framework on the platform made by Apple, I hope that more people will just have at least a general understanding of reactive programming, and maybe more will embrace it too. And then when there's more people understanding about it, it will be easier to reason about it with more people too.
Yeah, that's often true, right? I mean, when a technology first starts, it's
kind of an esoteric thing, like it's for wizards and magicians and magician tricks and so forth. But I mean, as more people understand about it, I think there will be less and less magic into it, and I hope that code will be safer and more robust.
Yeah. Do you have any wish list items for iOS 14?
Oh, I wish it's a solid release that everybody's happy with.
You're an easy man to please.
That's all I ask.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Do you have any wish list?
Well, so I have a daughter, and so any improvements they can make to screen time would be good. because, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to make sure that she's using her iPad and her phone appropriately. There's the usual thing of making Macs a little bit more well developed alongside iOS devices. But yeah, I think there's a lot of robustness in both of the platforms. So it's hard to put a finger on any one thing that I'd love to see fleshed out. Maybe some of the UI text functionality being on par with the Mac side of things, because you can still do things on the Mac with like the text editing that you can't do on iOS. But I figure these things will eventually come sooner or later.
Oh yeah, well, let's just hope for a solid release. That's it.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Marin. And I hope you have a great talk, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And hope you have a great evening.